Yesterday's total solar eclipse provoked a really weird response from the American right wing, including when elected Republicans used its imagery to publicly display their cultishness, and when the Fox propaganda network tried to politically weaponize it against President Biden, which in turn was called out in hilarious fashion by progressive comedian Jon Stewart. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bell before you go. I'd greatly appreciate it. All right, friends, so just to set the table yesterday, I was not able to put out any videos yesterday because I'm in the process of moving to a new apartment, and I was basically waylaid for 7 hours as the internet was trying to be set up. Mission accomplished, by the way. And there was also a total solar eclipse, and I wasn't able to enjoy it or talk about it. So imagine my surprise, and I probably shouldn't be surprised, but I was, when I was catching up on the day's political events, and I saw some really, really weird stuff coming from the American right wing, from conservative thought leaders, from right-wing media, and from elected Republicans, most disturbingly. But we're going to first start actually with the Fox propaganda network and their attempts to politically weaponize the eclipse, this total solar eclipse, which has nothing to do with something so petty as partisan politics in a single country on planet Earth. But we'll give them points for creativity. They tried to politically weaponize it against President Biden with respect to the southern border, and Jon Stewart lampooned it in appropriately Jon Stewart fashion.
A Fox News alert, a rare celestial event collides with a policy failure on the ground. The southern border will be directly in the path of totality today when the moon covers the sun for nearly 4 minutes.
We are told that officials are bracing for higher traffic than usual, and that means a real opportunity for smugglers and cartels and migrants to come right in.
Or they could just wait till nighttime. They don't have the eclipse. 4 minutes. I gotta say though, is there nothing Fox can't tie to immigration? This year's cicada infestation provides perfect cover for Venezuelans.
Somebody at Fox right now was watching this and just like scribbling it down. Damn, that's a good point, John. What about those cicadas? Folks, that's so sad. And again, I really want to be clear about this. What makes it sad, and I suppose I was kind of surprised, and I shouldn't be. That's my fault. I'm not cynical enough sometimes, I think, is that didn't come from Laura Ingraham or Jesse Waters or Janine Pirro. That came from Bill Hemmer and Dana Perino on America's Newsroom. Again, that's supposed to be hard journalism. That's supposed to be the straight news at the Fox propaganda network. But they're like, guys, for 4 minutes, it's going to be really dark outside. And basically, the entire southern border is just going to be flooded with invaders. Or as Jon Stewart says, if people really want to get across the border, maybe they'll just wait till like night. And what's going to significantly change in 4 minutes? Weird stuff coming from the Fox propaganda network. But again, just goes to show that there's nothing. There are no limits. There's no suspension of disbelief. There are no journalistic standards. Because again, it's supposed to be the straight news segment, right? Where somebody like pitched the idea like, hey, maybe we can say that Biden and the deep state caused that eclipse. So for 4 minutes, the border can be opened and then people can come here illegally and then vote in a way which benefits the Democrats. Like, you know that that's the thought process. They were trying to signal that with their eyes and with words leaving their mouths. Weird stuff. And Jon Stewart was right to mock it. But if that was weird, I think this is even weirder. This is the official Twitter page of the Republican Party's Judiciary Committee in the House of Representatives. They lead it. And they posted this eclipse-style imagery of a silhouette of Donald Trump, or as others pointed out, perhaps Peter Griffin from Family Guy, probably Donald Trump, blocking out the sun. And nothing, like no caption or anything. I don't know what the hell this is supposed to mean, but it's really weird. Harry Sisson, Jared Moskowitz, and others like are pointing out, like, what the hell's wrong with you guys? Is this a promo for the latest Gru movie? If this is not a cult, I don't know what is. What is this about? Folks, this is so strange. Like, again, I don't even understand the significance of it. It's the sun that is nourishing and brings heat. Trump is blocking it out in that. Are you like, is this like, did a Democratic intern like crack the password to the House Judiciary Committee and post this up as a joke? Or are these people too stupid to understand? I don't even know what this means. It's really weird to compare Donald Trump to some sort of celestial body like the sun or the moon, although I suppose you could say his ego is the size of one or both of them. But even if you read into the imagery, like, this isn't flattering. Like, he's blocked, like the moon was blocking out the sun, casting the earth into darkness, or at least the area of the earth under which the moon was covered. So, like, are you suggesting that Trump is this cold, lifeless, dead satellite blocking out, much needed heat and warmth from the world? Because if that's what you're suggesting, I mean, I suppose I could get behind that. But what's so funny is that came from an official Republican Twitter page, and there's no indication whatsoever that they were trying to be funny about it, that there was some sort of like self-deprecating joke. It was a weird cultish attempt at symbology, comparing Trump to the moon and sun. Strange stuff. And then it reminded me of something recent that Jesse Waters on an episode of The Five said about the notion that MAGA is a cult, which it is. This is what he had to say.
If Trumpism is a cult, it is the worst cult in history, because people come and go as they please. Everything is wholly transparent. There's nothing is secretive about it. And people seem to be having a good time. It doesn't seem like they're terrified of reprisals.
Again, very strange commentary. Is it the worst cult in history? Perhaps, in terms of the threat it poses. I think you'd easily make the case that that MAGA Republicans are the greatest political threat in modern U.S. history or on the planet, right? In terms of political consequences, given, what MAGA Republicans threaten in terms of democracy, reproductive rights, climate change, et cetera, and so forth. Could he mean worse in terms of stupid? Sure, there's a lot of stupidity in this cult, I think even more so compared to other cults. But then the other things that he said, nobody fears reprisal. Really? When MAGA Republicans leave the cult, they're ostracized. We saw Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger and other Republicans who were devoutly loyal to Donald Trump who just dare criticize him, and they receive death threats, they're formally censured, they're kicked out of parties, they're primaried, they face verbal attacks from Donald Trump himself. So what Gutfeld here is saying is simply not true. And then on top of that, the same day, or the day after, excuse me, I guess it was this morning that I saw this, where I'm thinking about the cultishness of MAGA, the Washington Post dropped this really interesting analysis of a recent Associated Press poll about the increasing flirtation with authoritarianism from the GOP, which obviously we talked about here on this channel, right? Because the GOP, as far as I'm concerned, is an authoritarian cult of personality. Not every Republican, but in terms of like the central animus and in terms of the leaders of the GOP, they're a cult. And there's actually some data to suggest it. So the most recent survey comes from the AP NORC. It shows a bit of a difference with respect to between the two parties with respect to whether unilateral presidential power is a good thing. 17% of Democrats say it is, which is about 17% too high, but whatever. While 26%, more than a quarter of Republicans agree. While 39% of Democrats said working around Congress and the courts was a good thing if the president were named Biden, 57%, nearly 60% of Republicans said that if it were Trump. Nearly 60% of Republicans believe that it's good for Donald Trump to work around the courts and Congress. And as the Washington Post op-ed points out, it's part of a consistent theme. So 52% of Republicans agreed that the country needs a strong president who should be allowed to rule with too much interference from courts and Congress. Not just courts, but Congress, the other elected body. Just 29% of Democrats agreed with that statement. And our guy's the one in office. 74% of Republicans would support Donald Trump being dictator for a day. That's University of Massachusetts Amherst. An NPR PBS Marist College poll said, we need a leader who is willing to break some rules to set things right. 56% of Republicans agreed compared to 28% of Democrats, etc. and so forth. Oh, this one. Fox News from December. Asking whether we need a president who will break some rules and laws, basically taking illegal action. 2020 Trump voters were twice as likely to support that compared to Joe Biden. So 30% of Trump 2020 voters were likely to support that. Folks, this is weird. It's weird. It's creepy. We should make fun of it and demean it and condescend it and just be absolutely vicious about it. There should be no tolerance for this. It is a cult. It's an authoritarian cult. It's a dangerous cult with quite a bit of power. And we should make fun of it. We should belittle it. The way that actually Americans did to the Nazis back during the Second World War. We posted all kinds of movies, Charlie Chaplin making fun of Hitler and everything. Like, it's important to belittle fascists and authoritarians because so much of their cult of personality and so much of their self-esteem is tied up into this idea that they're incredibly powerful and brave. They're frail and losers, now dangerous too. Hitler was a loser, but a dangerous one, right? And it's the same thing with Trump. Trump is a loser, and Trump should be made fun of. Trump should be belittled. Trump should never be taken seriously in terms of the substance of his ideas. He's an idiot. He should always be mocked as an idiot, but he's also an idiot who wields tremendous and dangerous power over millions of Americans and seeks the formal levers of power in terms of the presidency again. And he is going for broke. So we should do these things simultaneously. I think the Biden campaign's done a pretty good job of that. But weird stuff from Republicans and the Fox Propaganda Network during the eclipse. I wanted to bring that to your attention in case you missed it. You might have to take a shower afterwards because it was so creepy coming from them. But let me know what you think in the comments.